All right, in this video, we're going to go over how to actually create a proposal inside of QuickBase. So we've already created a lead, and so we're going to go to the place where leads are stored and housed. And so we click on the leads button, and we'll find a handful of leads that we've already created. As you're looking at the lead here, we click on the box itself. It takes us to the information we've already input in the lead, and we scroll down to energy recommendations, and we click on the energy recommendations button. And this part should be pretty self-explanatory as you go through here, but there are a few tricks I want to show you and help you understand. But we just really want to progress through each of these tabs to create the proposal. The beginning just gives us an overview of what we've already input from a lead that's taken from their lead page. Then we go to utility. In this case, I'm going to choose the utility where this customer would live, Southern California Edison. And the box for is the account holder listed in the lead name is there because in the event you have someone who is on title of the home, but the utility bill is in a different person's name, we want to make sure that the NEM gets done correctly. And so if it's in a different person's name, and let's say for whatever reason, the account holder then would be the account that's listed in the bill on the utility bill, uh, not the home. So leave that the same. The consumption type, you have a few different options. You can either choose the annual, daily average, annual total, monthly, daily average, and monthly total. So if you choose any of these, like the monthly total, for example, it gives you a new set of windows to fill out. And if someone happened to give you all 12 months of bills, you could put those in individually. But a lot of times we all just get the annual total because we've done the math on it or called someone and got it figured out. So in this case, I'm just going to keep it simple and choose the annual total. Let's just say this person's annual total was 10,000 kilowatt hours a year. If I wanted to input the total annual energy cost, I could, and that would be the reason you'd put that in there would be simply because you wanted to make sure that any minor adjustments that are on the bill that are not reflected in an average cost per watt would be shown there so that the savings would be 100% accurate. If you don't, it's going to be about 99%. So for those of you who are very, very particular, knock yourself out, put in total annual energy cost. So then we go to the system tab, and on here, the system tab is probably a place you want to spend a good chunk of time, only because it allows you to find the adders that are being auto-calculated as you go and progress through the system. So certainly some markets are different, and so some adders that you may see in here may not apply, but in principle, this is how it works. So you know this house is shingle roof, but let's say it's different and the house had S-tile roofs or concrete tiles. You'll see that there's a 5-cent adder that's attached to it and gets added onto the total price. We're going to use our standard panel types, QCell 295 and SolarEdge, and if these things change, they'll be updated in QuickBase so that the standard mod will stay the same. But again, if the customer wanted some different options, we can get just about any panel you've ever heard of, but we've left 3 panels as standard options simply because the proposal documents and home installation documents that need to be signed are pre-populated with these 3 spec sheets, and to change it would be a nightmare. So if you want to do it different, we can talk individually about how to make that happen. But for now, let's say the customer wanted a more of a premium panel and they chose the LG 330s. You'll notice that the price per watt adder is 18 cents that gets calculated here. In addition to 5, we have 23 cents of additional costs that we're absorbing or passing on to the customer, one of the two. That's reflected here in the base price per watt of 423. Now, the $4 and 423 doesn't really mean much because it's just a default number, but if we want to change that, we're going to plug in the override price per watt. And let's say you're selling this customer at $3.50 a watt, for example. This would be what your cash price would be. So as you go through this, just keep in mind this is not after dealer fees or after adders and things like that. As you can see, we put in $3.50 a watt, and we're still adding 23 cents to the base price per watt. So really, that would be $3.73 as a price per watt. This particular section here, the number of panels or panel override. If you're getting a design from Aurora or some other design program that's showing you south-facing roofs and all those different things to indicate how many panels are actually needed, you can override the panel notification here, and you can change it to whatever panel type or panel number you want. The quantity can change. So maybe this is a north-facing roof and has the need for 4 or 5 more panels instead of 20 that we figured out. Now we put 24 in here and it calculates for us effectively. Again, the reason why this is here is we're taking some pretty generic algorithms to figure it out, and we're using some calculations that are a lot of software companies are using, but it's pretty generic and it's also pretty conservative. So if you're getting a design done, a lot of times it'll match, but if it doesn't, this is where you would change it. So I'm just going to take this off for the sake of it and assume this is the same. You can see our adders have added up at 18 cents and 5 with our base price of 350 to make a 373 base price per watt. Again, that's where your commission is, right? So you're going to essentially subtract your base red line cost from this 350 number, and that's the margin you're making on your deal. We'll go over the add-on section another time, but then we progress over to the summary tab, and the summary tab gives us a handful of things to choose from. The first thing we want to look at is our finance partner. We're leaving this as PV only, and I just wouldn't touch it because the only other option is a change order. But from a finance partner selection, you have all of these different loans to choose from, right? Obviously, there's going to be less in places like Nevada and things where you don't have PACE, but in California, you have all these options to choose from, and we might end up paring this down some. And let's just choose a commonly selected loan. If you chose the 20-year 399 loan, you can see this is a diamond loan that LoanPal has called it. We'll use that for now. It automatically calculates the dealer fee. And so you remember back here on our system, we had a 350 watt base, and with our different adders, that came really at 373 with our adders. But then we plug in this loan type, the LoanPal 20-year 399, and our total price per watt to the customer is $456 a watt. If that seems high to you or seems low to you, you can adjust it either by going back here to the system and messing with the price per watt until you find out exactly what you want it to be, or you can do this option, which is to set the total price and change it. So we set the total price at $30,000. This is where it's at now. Let's say you're haggling with the customer. The customer says, no, if you do that for me for 28 even, it's a deal. You simply click on the set total price, type in 28,000 even, and it's going to auto adjust everything, and now you know your price for watt is 424. What doesn't happen is that this still stays the same, and because it's overwritten by the priority of this particular field. So keep in mind, here's some other things to look at, right? It's showing you your savings analysis or your offset, your system size, your annual kilowatt production, how many panels we're using, the inverter type and the mounting system, the tax credit, things like that. The initial payment would be the payment before the tax credits apply to the loan. If the customer chooses not to put the loan or the tax credit back in the loan, the adjusted payment shows what their loan payment would look like. Then these figures are interesting if you care about talking about them or sharing them with your group or with your customer. As you progress through, now it's time to send some documents. So we're going to save and keep working. And now we have some documents we can send. So there's a few things to look at. Number one, the LoanPal link that automatically APIs directly to LoanPal's site to run credit and pull loan docs. But it's just in this case for Diamond, right? So and I've had a couple questions come up lately where reps and owners are calling and saying, hey man, when I click on this link and it takes me to LoanPal, and I want to choose the loan term, it only shows me these loans, but I want a different loan. I want the 20-year 499 instead of the 20-year 399. Well, yeah, that's great, and I'm all for it, and I want you to have it, but you have to go back here to the system, to the summary, and choose that option, the 20-year 499, before it's going to be active. So if I did that and save and keep working, now when I click on my Documents tab, it'll show me now LoanPal Silver as opposed to the other option. And now here's my 20-year 499. So with LoanPal in particular, just make sure that whatever loan you're choosing in here is the loan the customer wants, because they're all those links are subject to, the gemstone, so to speak, that LoanPal decided to name all their loans. So whether it's platinum, diamond, gold, silver, you just have to make sure you're choosing that in the drop-down menu before you go to your documents and choose this button. Otherwise, the link will be for a different link, right? So if you go here, right, you're going to go to LoanPal. You'll be able to run credit and go through the normal LoanPal process. To populate a proposal or show the customer proposal, you click on simply the proposal link, and it will populate a proposal for you. And again, when we talked about the different the different modules we can use, these modules are the only ones that are going to populate inside of this PDF that will show up. I'll come back to it when it's done. There it showed up. So, I like to point out, number one, that we've got a few things to look at. You can spend some time on this proposal, but as you kind of scroll down, this is what's being populated, right? The spec sheets. And so if you choose a panel like a Panasonic or something that's not one of our default panels, this spec sheet's not going to populate, nor will this information change on here. It won't show exactly what it is that you're using. So just make sure you're aware of that, and we can talk offline if you're curious how to fix that. Then we want to sign the install agreement. Again, we're going to populate the install agreement. If it's a Spanish speaker, you saw the button for the Spanish speaking install agreement. As this populates, what happens is it triggers this DocuSign piece to be ready. And so the little trick that we have to do is we just have to refresh the screen, and the DocuSign button will pop up. So I'll refresh the screen, go back to my Documents tab, and now my DocuSign button's populated. I click on this guy, and it pulls up a DocuSign opportunity for us. And it shows who the DocuSign is being sent to. So in this case, the customer is going to his email. And again, if the email is not correct, obviously it's going to no one. And then to the rep for a countersign. We create the envelope. And by creating the envelope, all we're doing is we're literally sending the DocuSign to the customer for signature. And that is how we create a proposal.